Peace.
Peace.
This is Joshua Miller Law, Mr. PhD. You're just now entering the cipher called Real to Real 360. K-Wise.
Peace, God.
Bring that beat in, kid.
Indeed.
Peace.
Yeah. What's going on, party people? Welcome to the Real to Real 360 show. Let's get it in.
We do the knowledge of wisdom so you can understand. Real to Real 360 shows in full command. We changing the game for how it all was taught. From bondage to freedom to an independent thought. Yo, the show is here to bring about a change for real. To lighten everyone so we all know the deal. 360 degrees is a fact. We created the show to give our love back to our communities so we can know what's going on and give them the support from knowledge to born. So if you're ready to learn, then it's time to go. Sit back and relax and enjoy your show. Peace.
DJ watch this. Hold on, it's very next. Hold on, it's very next. Rockin' up the big New York from Long Island.
Peace and blessings. What's good, party people? It's your man, DJ K-Wise, Allah, a.k.a. Kato, the Black Superhero. I just had to play my joint right there for a special occasion. Welcome to the Real 360 show, along with my co-host, Josh Shamel Allah, who will be on shortly. Right now, I just want to give special blessings and thanks to this beautiful young gentleman, my brother, who is also here. And I played that Long Island 5th to 6th borough for a special reason. The brother that you see before me right now is also definitely a Long Islander from Strong Island, as we call it, in Lord's Island by the guards. All right. So this brother I've had the pleasure of knowing ever since, I believe, my junior high school days, coming into the high school time frame. And I've had the pleasure and honor of befriending this brother who was he's my elder, and he has much knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and a positive person. I've always seen him. You know, we were a lot slimmer than what we was, what you see now. You know, but age puts on good things. You know what I mean? So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to introduce my brother in God right here. One of Strong Islands. I got to say, shout out to Port Knox, Freeport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the blessings of meeting such people. And I'm glad that our show here, Real to Real 360, has a lot of talent and showcasing our brothers and sisters who have risen up from the islands and have now been going on to do great things. So without further ado, I want to introduce my brother Tafari. Peace, God.
Peace, God.
Oh, man, how you doing?
Hosley, you know, I'm here on KY's show, you know, and we're going to have a little conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So what people fail to realize, man, about one thing that's always seems to be misconstrued within the Black man's foundation is our story. I'm not going to say his story, but our story. You see,
no doubt.
Because our story has been misconstrued in so many ways. You know, it's hard to, it's really, I don't define to say our history, because our history is vast and vague, it's open, it's not really confined to a true linkage of source the way I think it should have been. But we don't know the reasons behind that. So you being a historian and scholar within it, you know, that's why I wanted to bring you on and give some enlightenment, because there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of questions, you know, people's going to be asking, or even ourselves got the questions asked. But before we jump into that, I just want you to give our viewers and listeners and our fans just a little brief intro of who Brother Tafari is.
This, you know, a brother who has studied 120 and the teachings of His Majesty Haile Selassie from I was in high school, you know, and I never strayed from it, you know. And I've always studied our history, you know, from a young age, you know. I read a lot about a lot of Dr. Ben stuff, you know, And, you know, I've always been on that course. I never strayed away from it, you know. You know me, and, you know, from young, that's what I was dealing with, you know.
Absolutely.
Always was into, you know, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, you know.
So
You
what
know.
is it? What is it that drove you into the direction of the studying of the culture?
Um, it just happened, you know. When I was young, one day when I was 14, I went to the library one day about how I got into reading about Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the library and I took out a book called The Rastafarians by a man named Laron Barrett, I believe. And in the first paragraph of it, I read about, you know, Ethiopia and in the Bible. And, you know, you was never told anything about that. And that
Mm-hmm.
lit the fire, you know. And I opened the Bible for myself and I saw that Ethiopia was mentioned in the second chapter of Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that it was mentioned throughout, you know. And as time went on, I learned other stuff that, you know, linked to that, you know, and, you know, show and prove that truth, you know.
So let's add on to that part with your finding Ethiopian within the Bible within the second book of Genesis. So
Mm-hmm.
how was it that you brought about the saying that that was Ethiopia versus where people just open up the Bible and read and they just reading what they read but not understanding the geographical errors of it? You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Well,
So
Ethiopia has a geographical location, you know,
mhm,
and when I saw that in the Bible from a young man, I knew that what they were telling you far as religiously, I knew that was false, you know, that they was using false imagery on us. And finding Ethiopia in the Bible and further learning from that, you know, it made a lot of sense, you know. It matched my thoughts, you know, because I knew that the imagery that they were showing us was fake. And then I
mhm,
discovered Ethiopia and I, you know, the source of what they were talking about, you know. Ethiopia is the first nation mentioned in the Bible, you know. And you know, they don't teach you that. And I know I never heard that taught in any church or anything, you know. So that lit that fire, you know.
indeed. So why do you feel like it wasn't mentioned or taught from our these the history lessons we were given as kids here off in the wilderness of North America? Why did you think that they, if you look at it, they really didn't apply the word Africa, which is another name anyway? They never
Yeah,
added that. They never gave the name Kemet. It's
yeah.
never.
They
So
mentioned they call it Egypt in the Bible. Yeah.
exactly.
And then
So
the Bible's history is, you know, the Bible goes back 6,000 years, you know. So
mhm,
that's only a fraction of time in our history. Not even a fraction of time, really. You know, 6,000 years is, you know, that's not that long ago, you know.
absolutely,
Historically, you know, the pyramids existed when the Bible was written, you know. So it's how they present the history, you know. It's mythology they present people, you know, and a lot of people believe that. So, and they're hard to be taken, you know, it's hard to sway them from that, you know. Like when you tell
absolutely,
them the Bible's history is 6,000 years old, that's the original man exists trillions of years, right? So
absolutely.
how does that make sense, you know? You know.
So with that, what you do when you teach or and speaking to whether it be the youth
Hmm.
amongst our peers, and you know, you hear some people talking about like, okay, well, the Bible's the original book, right? It was really, you know, the
I know
first
that's
book.
not true, you know. The
Hmm.
Bible, the Bible, it originally, I mean, the Bible consists of different books. First of all, it's not one book. It's, you know, it's a collection of books. And then it originally came from a book called the Pert Im Heru, which is the
Hmm.
Egyptian Book of the Dead. You know, that's what the Western world calls it. But if you checked out the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Pert Im Heru, the stories in the Bible are taken from that. They just using different names for different characters and different, you know, geographical locations, but the stories haven't changed. You know, it tells you in the Pert Imheru to hail the King of Kings. You know, and we know that. We know who the King of Kings is. You know, so is you know. You know the reasons that they've hid this history, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, it's all about the fake imagery and messing with people's minds, you know, and trying to make you feel inferior, you know. That's why they had this critical race thing now. They don't want to teach real history, you know. They want to hide. They want to have some sugar-coated history. They don't want to teach real history, you know. They feel they're gonna hurt people's feelings. History is what it is, you know. You know, but that's why certain people want to control it. You know,
add on.
You know, they want to control it, so you know they dictate what people know. You know, and now we live in an age of information where they can't conceal this stuff anymore. You know,
absolutely,
it's out there. People are learning. You know, even if you hide it, they're gonna learn it. You know,
but
or
you know,
possibly be exposed to it.
Now, certain things like Hidden Colors, you know, Message to the Black Man, written by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You know, certain variety of books have enlightenment and truth to it that most average scholars of the day will tell you to stay away from those type of books because they don't want that to be exposed.
But they try to ostracize those type of people.
Absolutely.
The bin. They try to make them bad guys. John Henry Clark, you know, they try to ostracize them. You know? They try to make you think they're not equal to, you know, their peers, you know.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, I just added on my brother in God,
peace.
aka Mr. PhD is in the building. Peace, God.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Peace to the gods. How y'all?
Peace.
Oh man, we maintain it. How you?
Peace. I'm maintaining it, man. It's been one of those days, brother. It's been one of those days, but as always on Real to Real 360, we rise above 6.
No doubt.
So Tafari, it's a pleasure to have you on Real to Real 360.
Thank you very much.
And I'm pretty sure that my co-host gave you the intro that you deserve.
Thank you.
So how's everything been, family?
We good.
I don't know if the viewers or the followers really got he brings to
them. His sound is going in and out.
Yeah, you going in and out, Lord.
Okay. Let me come in and out again, and I'll be right back for 1 second.
So as you know, we talking about certain books. One of the books that I've read, which I found very interesting and mind-blowing, was Potomac on the Egypt.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And breaking down the sciences and symbols of everything in
Washington,
D.C., tracing all those things right back to the root of civilization. You know,
no doubt.
And you know, and a lot of people be like, "Well, how you know that? How you see that? All you got to do is take a topographical map and look at
check it out,
and you'll see it for yourself how it builds out. You know, the Washington Monument itself
is an obelisk.
Absolutely. Indeed, which came from Egypt, which they call Egypt, you know, but we know as Kemet, and you know, so and the owl, you all know the wise owl, you know what I mean? So
the eye of Osor, or they call him Horus. You know?
Yes. You know, so when we try to, you know how we do as gods, you know, when we start waking up, you know, the dead, you know, and other people that are around and they hear and see, they first thing they want to do is try to whitewash what we building on and try to lead everybody in the wrong direction. You know, that's how the lesson says, you know, it's easy to be led in the wrong direction, hard to be led in the right. You know, so that's why we have a tough time being 5%. But it's only a tough time if you feel like you don't have that knowledge in yourself. But if you got the knowledge, wisdom, understanding of it,
you could combat anything.
Tough time, you rise above everything. Just like the God said, when we step in there, we rise above 6, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? So regardless to whom or what, our worship is born. So let's go back again and add on to the science. I want to compare the narrative, what they're saying about John 3:16, to that of ancient Egyptian time frame. The story of how Jesus came to be versus the true story in Kemet, which was told. Can you expound on that part?
But the original Trinity story, or the story of Jesus, came from the story of Osor, Set, and Heru. They call them in Western world. They call them what? Osiris, Isis, and Horus. That's where the original, story came from. And they know this stuff. It's all in Kemet. They have it on the walls. They left the stories in stone. They didn't hide it. It's there multiple times. They know these things. You ever heard of E. Wallace? Was that E.A. Wallace Budge?
Yes.
He's the one who translated the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and those men, they know that. That's why they have to lie and all that. And that's why it all ties into, like I was telling you, my interest in DNA and all that. DNA shows and proves who the original man is. And that's what the problem is. They're in a race they cannot win. It's all about genetics and demographics and all that,
Absolutely.
And they mad. They can't win. They can't win the genetic race, There's too many of us to kill us all or incarcerate us all, So they, it all comes back to the same thing. Who is the original man? And that upsets them. Because even through the rape and all that, they didn't change, the genetic code, It's deep.
Tafari, can y'all hear me now? Am I better? What is the difference between Egyptology and Kemetic science?
Egyptology and Kemetic science. That's a good question. Egyptology was started by Europeans, really. The top, Kemetic science is brothers now tapping into, into the culture and the spirituality of Kemet, But the actual study of Egyptology, that name was originally created by, by Eurocentric scholars,
Indeed. Because I know that
they use that to try to hide that truth from the people.
From the people.
Yeah.
I know that when I was a young god and we Knowledge 120, a lot of times we went into various different schools of thoughts. And Egyptology was one school of thought that I did the knowledge to. And then later on it became got an awareness of Kemetic science. Science.
Like you ever heard of the Metu Netta? That's like more that's Kemetic science.
And with the Kemetic science and getting the name of Egypt, where did the name Egypt actually derive from?
They say it's Greek,
Right.
So it's the source of it is grammatically is Greek, Egyptos or something.
So when breaking down the science of Jesus, because you was talking about Jesus and Horus and things of that nature when I popped in, when the reality of the man himself came to be through Constantine, is Constantine the one who stole the knowledge? Or
he's the one who created Roman the European Christianity, yeah.
Right.
Constantine, he's the one.
365 AD.
So when we're dealing with the science of Jesus, knowing that they didn't have a J at that point in time, and to take the veil of deception off of the people, we have to be mindful of the science of Kemetic sciences, the Nile River, and the importance of all the above. So how do you see the impact of the Nile River and the place they call Egypt, which is North Africa, that has a hold on the people of the wilderness in North America today?
Well, the Nile River, the source of it is where they think human, that's where some of the oldest human cultures are,
Mm-hmm.
and down on the Great Lakes, because the Nile doesn't start in Egypt. A lot of people just associate it with Egypt. It starts down, down around more like Rwanda,
Right.
around like really around 3 different nations, and it comes down from they call it the mountains of the moon,
Mm-hmm.
and it forms different tributaries. It goes through Ethiopia. They have the White Nile and the Blue Nile.
Mm-hmm.
It goes through Sudan, and then and it finishes in Egypt.
Now, also too, at what point in time was Sudan the home of the knowledge of the original man?
Sudan. That's a good question too. Sudan has, ancient Islamic culture and ancient Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all part of that. All that region was all part of, Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. They were all, part of the same cultures.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've all studied, the lessons, the 120 lessons.
Mm-hmm.
How have the lessons themselves impacted you in your journey with studying the science of Kemetic, Kemet, and different things?
Because, it's part of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the original man. So,
Mm-hmm.
It's good to know,
Right.
It's all, it all ties into the same source of information,
Right.
So it's, that's what led me to studying it.
So what can you trace back to the year when you started on your journey of having knowledge of self?
When I was 13, 14 years old, 9th grade, I stopped eating pork when I was 14 years old, in 9th grade.
What was your enlightening moment?
I grew up in in a family that was cultural and had knew themselves, and then the environment I grew up in Freeport, and I had roots in Brooklyn, so I was back and forth between Freeport and Brooklyn. And Freeport, we had knowledge of self in Freeport. If you wanted it, we had access to it,
Mm-hmm.
So we grew up in that environment, I'm 55, so I was in school, like I said, in 81, I was in 9th grade, so we was around that every day. It was, you would have to be blind to ignore it,
Right. So with how have you seen the influence of knowledge of self from when you first got it to today on today's youth? Do you feel like right?
Well, I think we've neglected our teaching. We need to teach more, because the kids, look at the kids are they're not down with it, right? They don't have knowledge of self for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
They're getting it more so off the internet, which is, good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
We got it personally. We dealt with each other, personally. It wasn't everything wasn't, nothing was on the internet back then.
Yeah,
So
there was no internet.
yeah, we were in the streets. We talked to each other, we walked with each other.
Right.
Their thing is a lot different,
Right.
I think that's a major problem, because this technology has caused.
They think we're all peers. Excuse me, we're not all peers. You know what I'm saying? If I'm 55 and you 25, you're not my peer. Because we both on Facebook or something, that don't make us peers. But in their mind, they think, they communicating through the same thing as you, that you their peer,
Right.
Where we had hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
you respected the dude, older than you, and vice,
Right.
They on some different,
Because I know that, like you said, 81. Because I know I received knowledge in 82. It was
Okay.
mostly mouth to ear. We would
Yeah,
go
you were talking to people, walking with people.
walking and going from Roosevelt to Freeport to
Mm-hmm.
Hempstead to the parliaments in the desert and Medina and Mecca. We
Mm-hmm.
kept each other sharp. Now, with this generation, do you feel like it should be more a lot of the culture, since we all grew up in the culture, and especially in the 80s, that it should be implemented more so in the schools as well?
Well, we would have to have our own schools. We don't control our own. We don't
Right.
control our own education.
Because I noticed that a lot of people are starting to homeschool, and then you have these charter schools. And when having charter schools, you're able to implement
You're able to implement certain curriculum. Yeah.
certain curriculums.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you feel like if we had more charter schools, that we would be able to implement more of a cultural base for the youth?
Yeah, and that's what we need. That's what our young boys need. A lot of the young
Right.
kids, a lot of the young men are detached from school. They're not being taught about themselves. They're being taught to fit into this society. That's it. But they're not being taught any history, really.
Uh-huh.
I have an
And
11-year-old. They're not teaching them nothing too great.
and that's what I was getting to with a lot of us who come from that generation have babies, and
Mm-hmm.
teaching our babies the culture and our babies being influential on other individuals. I think
Uh-huh.
that as the lessons say, that we should build at home and abroad. How much do you feel like we dropped the ball of building at home?
We've dropped the ball tremendously. Look at the results. Look at the most of the youth now. They down with gangs, right?
Mm.
So we've neglected what we're supposed to be doing.
And the basis of gang culture is family.
Mm-hmm.
The basis of gang culture is family. So
Yeah.
being the fact that is the basis of gang culture is family, do you see that we have perpetuated the destruction of the black family?
Yeah, a lot of most of our problems, to me personally, are self-inflicted at this point. We can straighten out ourselves if we heeded certain information,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't. We collectively don't.
Right.
A few people, or some of us do, but collectively as a group of people, look at the shit that happened the other night. We got more talk about that than anything else. And we don't even know if it was real or not.
Indeed.
But that got more input than anything else.
Right.
More conversation than anything else we could talk about.
Pardon self, real quick. The God Bishop, he's watching. He said, "Peace." That's my brother.
Peace.
That's my brother from way back.
Yeah.
Peace to the God Bishop. I told you, the bully's in the building, Bishop. We got him. We got him right now. He's in the middle of the cipher, as you see, smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bishop, pardon me 1 second. Bishop, Allah, I love you. I understand you're the one who pushing this bully technique, but I got you though. Bishop. I love you, man. But also too, Brother Tafari, growing up in what I always call Freeport, Roosevelt, Uniondale, Hempstead, like considered almost like a suburban ghetto, because we had the same social ills that they had
in the city. Yeah.
In the city.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you see that the culture of Long Island have dramatically changed in the last 20 years?
Well, it changed with crack, changed everything. You know that. You lived through it. Crack changed everything. Crack changed the world. We grew up in a drug epidemic,
Right.
So, we survivors. We good to be here. But we grew up in some rough times, and it was on purpose. They pushed, it didn't come from, didn't fall out the sky, So yeah, out here changed. The demographics out here have changed, and crack changed a lot of things. You know.
Right. So like I said, we grew up in the crack era, the Reaganomics and all the above. Shouldn't that have made us closer and stronger as a unit, especially having knowledge of self during that period of time? Because it was various different groups that were coming through in the 80s when we're talking about the Reaganomics and things of that nature, and we were dealing with the Howard Beach and the Tawana Brawleys and all these different things that we were dealing with in the 80s. We was having knowledge. You had the Morris Sciences, you had the Gods, you had the Zulus, you had the Rastafari and Sarus, and you had all these individual groups and organizations that was in the streets at that time. Do you feel that we should have been stronger as a collective, as an original people in the wilderness of North America?
Yes, definitely. And that's why we need to wake up now, while we still, true and living,
Right. So tell me, who was some of your greatest influencers when it came to having knowledge? Whether it's like one of your brothers, one of the
my family, my cousins, and like I just said, in the environment in Freeport, we just grew up where that's what we talked about, that's what we dealt with, So it was always, growing up in Freeport, you're from the Roosevelt originally, right? So
yes, sir.
It was always, I know people you went to school with.
Yes, sir.
It was all we were always around it, Unless the only way you could avoid it is if you just didn't want to know,
Yeah, like I said, it for me, it was a privilege to grow up with some of the great minds of Lord's Island, which was, Al Malik, the Knowledge Bonds, the Dr. Knowledges, the Prince Tashans, the, the Father Umas and things like that. And it was a privilege. Then, you have the Bishmis, and then you have the Rashidulahs. You have
the Bishmi.
And my right-hand man was the Panani Don Rashawn. You know what I'm saying? That was my brother right there. You know what I mean? May peace be upon him.
I'm hearing
I remember him doing the parties at Northeast.
I'm hearing the echo. It's good. We're good now.
And so during that period of time, how many people did you teach on your journey? You know what I'm saying, and things of that nature. How much of an influence you were to others that was around you?
I think I think I was influential to a lot of people. I taught a lot of people that I'm sure that they still remember my influence. Like I said, that's what I've always been about. So I'm sure I've reached a few.
Let me add on to this. We're gonna slide to the left a little bit, then come right back. One of the things that you're doing within Freeport, or I'm not sure if you're in the Freeport area when you do, you're a soccer coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was down in Randall Park tonight, yo. Okay. That shit is cold as hell.
But what it is you're training with the youth. You're teaching the youth. How important is that to maintain connectivity with the youth in the soccer era? Because it's I know that's always been your passion. I remember you kicking the balls around school. So
it's good to teach the youth. They're hard headed. But they need it because this generation, they don't come outside. They play sports because their fathers signed them up, in a league or something, and that's what they do. So it's different than when we came up.
Okay.
Used to stay after school to play ball.
Absolutely.
They're not like that. They're not like we were. We were out. We played ball and all that. We were out in the parks and all that. This generation isn't. They're on the electronics, so they're growing up a lot different.
Okay.
Right.
Now, pulling it right back into my thought.
Mhm.
Rastafarianism.
Mhm.
Rastafarian.
Rastafari
Yeah.
they don't use that term. The ism, they
Yeah.
no ism is
All right.
Rastafari.
Rastafari. Now, how did that enlighten you on your journey coming up as well?
It enlightened me through when I learned about Ethiopia. Then I learned about Haile Selassie. You know,
Well,
and
give more enlightenment to the people about the emperor himself, because most people really don't know. A lot of fans out here like, who is
who's
Emperor?
Haile Selassie? Well, Haile Selassie was the last emperor of Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
He was the 225th emperor of Ethiopia. He was crowned on November 2nd, 1930. His original name is Ras Tafari. His original name is Tafari Mokanen.
Mm-hmm.
Ras is a title in Ethiopian chivalry. So he became known as Ras Tafari. He originally became the king of Ethiopia with the name Tafari Mokanen, and there was a queen named Zoditu. Then, when he was crowned emperor, he took on his baptismal name, and his baptismal name was Haile Selassie. So that's why he's known as Haile Selassie the First, because he's the first emperor who had that name. And the Ethiopian monarchy, according to their history in a book called the Kebra Nagas, which is called The Glory of the Kings, it goes back to Menelik the First, who was supposed to be a son of Solomon and Makeda. And that's how the Ethiopian monarchy, became, started. And it lasted until 1974. They had a communist revolution, And a lot of the Ethiopian youth now, they don't know any of that history, They don't know that at all.
Oh my goodness. Well, I got to pause right here. Ladies and gentlemen, gods and earths, the living, breathing legend is in the building. My big brother indeed. Let us bring on the G, the O, the D. Ladies and gentlemen, bish me Allah. Peace, God.
Peace,
Peace.
How you?
What's the science, man? I'm here at work, man. I'm trying to get a little back and forth, you know what I'm saying, running up and down, trying to take care of something and listen to this at the same time. So I figure I just hop on and listen for a few seconds. I got a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Well, what's good though?
Peace. I want to say thank you to my big brother Bishme for popping in, because he was watching my every movement and he was making sure I wasn't left-handed with any questions. So Bishme, I appreciate you. You know what I mean? And glad that you came on. And Freeport is definitely representing tonight. And I wanted to say I love my big brother Bishme. He keeps me out of trouble.
Love is love. Love you all as well. Josh Amel bullied me on here too, though. You know what I'm saying? He hit me. I told him I was busy working. He told me I got to get on. You know what I'm trying to say? For a few minutes. I said, hold on. He a bully. You know what I'm trying to say? But I love him still. I ain't even gonna lie like that. But what's the size? So what we?
Yeah.
I just jumped in for a minute to see. You know what I'm saying? And like again, peace to my man Tafari, who I've known for a very long period of time. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm just on here, just being nosy, seeing what we're building about, seeing what's going on, see we can see what the discussion is about. You know what I'm saying? Just really adding on like we always do.
Always, man. Like I said, I didn't bully my big brother. I just asked him would he come on for 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to tell him, you know what I'm saying, publicly, we've been had a lot of Lord's Island on our show lately and representing Lord's Island, and Bishme has been an influence of individuals who taught a lot of individuals who still keep individuals in line when it comes down to the culture out in Lord's Island. So I want to take my hat off and say peace to him and give him an opportunity to let him know, you know what I'm saying, publicly, I love my big brother. And if I'm a bully, it's the way that you taught me to be. You know what I'm saying? I didn't become a bully by myself. I was taught to be this way, sir. And I love you for that. All right.
I'm gonna say peace just as well as I appreciate that. But what I am going to say, which is like, a lot of brothers don't know, like, look, me and Tafari around the same age. I'll soon be power. Man, I had knowledge for like coaching site for something years. You know what I'm trying to say? So I had it when I got knowledge. I got knowledge at the time where, like I tell people, it's not about showing and tell, it's about showing and proving. You see what I'm trying to say? So we had to show and prove. I had knowledge around the times where I couldn't walk down the street without going and building in a cipher. I couldn't come out the house without knowing my lessons. I don't care what I was on. And this is true facts. Before I came out the house, whatever degree I was on, I made sure I knew that degree completely. You know what I'm trying to say? And understood something about it. So and I'm talking about like just mathematics, alphabet, just walking out, making sure that I knew up to that. A lot of people don't know, but I had, besides, you know what I'm saying, my brother Ra, you know, and excuse me, his physicals, Raleigh, Armel, Shabash, rest in peace, Algebra, you know, Divine Truth, Allah Asiatic, who enlightened me to the cipher, you know, and a lot of brothers walking the streets of Roller, but a lot of brothers nowadays know nothing about. But brothers like that, I've been around where I had to stay in tune. I had to stay sharp. You know, I would be playing on the block and everything, like just chilling. Divine Truth, when I lived on J Street, Divine Truth would walk down the block and he'd see me, peace guard, and he'd start building. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's how it was. And that's how I got it. I got it hard. If you can understand what I mean. I got it hard, whereas I was supposed to know. If I didn't know, then go back in the house and come back out when you do know. You know what I'm trying to say? And
is that the reason why you taught the rest of us coming behind you like that?
I give it to you the way I got it.
Absolutely.
You dig what I'm saying? I give it to you the way I got it, so you could give it to them the way I got it, the way you got it, and the cipher goes on. Because you see the difference, Ja, you see the difference the way I got it, the way you got it, compared to a lot of people coming up now, the way they get it. A lot of people don't get it like we got it before. We know
breaking up.
understand time is different, things change, you know what I'm trying to say, things go with it, you know, things change, but you know, people getting it now off the internet and other people just don't even understand. Plus we know it's more to do 120, just 120. You got to knowledge wisdom, understand 120, not just know it.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say? Knowledge is to know, wisdom is to what? Show. That's the way you manifest, to bring forth your understanding. It's very simple.
Right.
But
I just wanted you to
sometimes we got things in life that's.
I wanted Bishmi to come on so people can see that it's not just me. Bishmi and the team of my older brothers, you know what I'm saying? Tafari, you probably was in the mix with all of them that taught us, you know what I'm saying, to be hard on these streets and to teach it hard.
It was different back then, you know that.
And to love the culture. And I appreciated brothers like yourselves who came through and was hard on us getting it. So every week, I want all our followers and listeners to understand something. Every week, I call Bishmi and let him know I haven't been in trouble this week.
Every week, like clockwork. And if he don't call me, then I got to text him and call him to make sure he's doing all right.
So just to make sure that there is no bullying, no nothing, he always checks in with me. So, you know what I mean? I love him. I love Al Malik. Those are my brothers that I stay in tune with, and I appreciate them to death. But Tafari, I'm going to switch the gears and get back into Rastafari. When you started going into Rastafari, how was the changes, or what changes and lessons did you have to study to become Rastafari? What was the process?
Rasta is a culture, so you know it's coming into certain knowledge, you know. So you know that it's a changing of your mind, you know. It's knowledge of self, so it's an awakening, you know. And in Rasta, there's different, is different, you know, there's different houses in Rasta. Rasta's not all the same. A lot of people think it's all the same, but there's different interpretations of Rasta and all that, you know. The Bobo Shanti, The ones who with a turban, you know,
Right.
Nyabingi, 12 tribes. Those are all different expressions of Rasta. They all have that influence of Ethiopia, but they're not all exactly the same, you know, the same thing, you know.
Right.
They're not
Right.
exactly saying, you know, they're saying some of the same things, but they're not saying all the same thing, you know.
Could you break down the 12 tribes, because I've heard that over the years and never really had a complete understanding of what the
Well,
12
the
tribes
12
were when it came
tribes is a Christian influenced sect of Rasta. You know, they believe Haile Selassie is the second coming of Jesus Christ.
to.
Nyabingi just deals with the deity of Haile Selassie, you know.
Mhm.
And likewise Bobo Shanti, but Bobo Shanti deifies this man named Prince Emmanuel. So they have their own trinity: Prince Emmanuel, Haile Selassie, and Marcus Garvey. You know, if you ever heard like Capleton, when they say
Right.
Holy Emmanuel, they're actually referring to Prince Emmanuel Charles Edwards, who was the leader who founded the Bobo Shanti. You know,
Mhm.
Let me ask
and
you a question.
Mhm,
Let me ask you a question real quick,
mhm,
just so that I don't confuse myself. So Rastafari, you said, is a culture,
mhm.
right? And
Yeah,
Islam is a culture, or nation is a culture. That means you deal with two cultures, then, right?
nah, because it's all one thing. It's all one thing, really.
Mhm.
It's all one thing. You know, Islam, Bilal came from Ethiopia.
Okay.
You know, so it's all one thing. The Ethiopian Empress Haile Selassie's wife Menin was a descendant of Mohammed. You know, so it's all
Okay.
entwined. You know,
That's what I get that. How does it, know how it is, how does it intertwine?
When
in Ethiopia, the ancient Jews, the Falasha, the they have Muslims in Ethiopia, and they have the Ethiopian Orthodox Tawahedo Church, and they're
Okay.
all entwined. They're all intermarried. So you know,
Mhm.
the Christian, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church descends from the Falasha. You know,
Mhm.
and the city where Haile Selassie was born in, Hara, that's actually a Muslim city. So him and his wife both have Islamic ancestry. You know,
Mhm.
Okay.
So
it's all
with the culture of Rastafari, it mostly meshes with the Islam of the East and not of the West.
yeah of the of Eastern Islam of Sudan, like the Sudanese. Sudan is an Islamic nation,
Hmm.
predominantly.
Okay.
My question: how
Mhm.
does the tie of Haile Selassie being a descendant of King David, whereas when Britain doesn't recognize that part or say that he is not part of the original bloodline?
Well, they don't know. Yeah, well, I never heard. I don't know what Britain's point of view of it is. They entertained His Majesty when he was, on this earth. So, but they interpret the Bible different. They don't. And it's interesting because England was in Ethiopia stealing stuff. They still have stuff that they stole from Ethiopia.
Mhm.
When Italy fought two wars against Ethiopia. The first one was in 1896. They had the Battle of Ottawa, and the Italians lost. Then, and what really started World War II is Italy invaded Ethiopia again. They occupied Ethiopia for 5 years. When they invaded Ethiopia, like similar to what's happening in Ukraine, Haile Selassie went before what they called the League of Nations back then. That was the United Nations back then. And he told Europe that, if you don't help us, this was going to lead to World War II, which actually happened, because after Ethiopia was invaded by Italy, then Hitler started making his moves in Europe. And that's how World War II started. And eventually Ethiopia, with the help of the British, they got the Italians were defeated. So that's why Ethiopia was never it has never been occupied. It had never been colonized by Europeans. It was invaded by Italy twice, but it was never conquered. And that's why they have their own, Ethiopia has its own alphabet. They have their own way of telling time. They have their own calendar. Like in Ethiopia, like 6 o'clock in the morning here, in the morning, that's 12 o'clock. That's when they begin their day. They have their own calendar. Their calendar, the beginning of the year starts in our time in September. So,
like I said,
and that's things.
It's interesting when you talk about the Rastafari and the Jamaican roots, and you talk about the we can go into the slave trade history of being one of the places where the people were brought from the continent to Jamaica. as a breaking ground.
Yeah, well,
And
most of us were brought to South America or the Caribbean or Central America before they were brought up here,
right, and having the influences of that and being stripped of everything as far as culture and knowledge of who and what we are to have us come to the wilderness of North America. How essential is it for a person to dig back into their family heritage or to take claim of to whom and what they are? Like us as 5%ers, we take claim of who and what we are. Being Joshua Melala, Bishmi, K. Wise, we take back our claim of who and what we are. How essential do you feel that being Rastafari does that for you?
It's very important. It gives you knowledge of self, a sense of, pride. So yeah, it's very important, to know your ancestry is important, to know your genealogy, it's very important. If you can find it out, we live in a time where you can find it out, if you want to look into it,
Right. Because I know that you have spoken to the DNA process. How how much of that the genetics can you really trace back to the continent?
Well, if you take a DNA test, it will give you a general idea of the regions you have ancestry from. So it will give you an idea of where on the continent of Africa and elsewhere you have ancestry from.
How factual is that, though?
How factual? It's very factual. On a regional level, it's very factual. Plus, you have matches that verify it. The regions that you have ancestry from, you'll be related to people that are from those different regions. If you have Native American in you, you'll be related to other people who have Native American in them. If you have Italian ancestry, you'll be related to other people that, because you match each other on particular parts of your chromosomes, and that could be detected exactly where you match someone on a chromosome, that area of that chromosome, it can be detected, So that's how,
But can those results be mixed, diluted, and tampered with is my real question.
Can they? Nah. To me, they can't, because once you take a DNA test, you're gonna match people you're related to, and that could be verified. It's so accurate that police can use it to indict your fifth cousin if they were a serial rapist or doing something that was DNA related. They're using that to solve like 30-40-year-old crimes now, based because when you take a DNA test, there's a database, so you're related to people even if you don't know them, and like I said, they could be fourth or fifth cousin, and you matching them could allow a genetic genealogist to build a tree, and it could point to that person committed the crime. So it's very accurate, you know.
So which DNA testing or however it function would you recommend as far as for brothers and sisters to go and do?
I would start with Ancestry DNA and then take a 23andMe. That's all you really need to do. You know, because you could upload what they call your raw data, which is the information of your DNA. You could upload it to other sites for free and get whatever their interpretation of it is, you know. But it's very accurate, you know. Like I said, you're related. It shows that who you're related to, you know. If you have cousins who took it, or your mother or father or siblings took it, it would show you're related to them. If it shows differently, then your sibling might have different parents, you know, something wasn't told, you know, and that's happening every day. There's groups all over Facebook about, you know, people who are finding out, you know, daddy isn't daddy, you know.
Right.
You know,
So,
some people are finding out all types of stuff.
With us, we have 120. What is the lessons or things that y'all study? Is it the Holy Bible? Is it a certain book, or?
Well, that's different. Like I told you, there's different sects in Rasta. There's some Rastas who read the Bible faithfully, like the 12 tribes. There's other Rasta who don't deal with the Bible at all, you know. It depends. You would have to talk to that particular individual to actually truthfully know where they're coming from.
So do you deal with nature itself, or do you deal with a certain guidelines?
We said with certain guidelines.
Yeah, like, you know, we have a way of, you know, in every culture you have a way of life, and you have certain rules and guidelines that we set forth for ourselves. So with Rastafari and the practicing of Rastafari, because I don't want to be mistaken, you're Rastafari, right?
Yes.
So with Rastafari, what is it that you deal with mostly? Is it the nature of man, or is it actually like a Bible, or is it certain lessons or books that you read to keep yourself balanced within your culture?
Well, I'm a reader. I read, you know, but there's no particular book that you know, you would be told within Rastafari that you have to read. But I myself, I read, you know. For
So
others, I don't.
Do you submit yourself to Haile Selassie?
No, I don't. No. That's another mistake that people have.
Right.
Original Rasta is teaching that God is man. We cite God and Haile Selassie, and we are part of that. We are one with that. There's no, you know, we don't believe in no mystery God. There's no God in the sky or none of that. You might have somebody who may tell you that, but the part of Rasta that I deal with, and the original part of Rasta, teaches that God is man. There's no God in heaven, you know.
Okay. So there is no form of spookism or things of that nature.
No. Nobody is coming to save you. You got to save yourself.
Okay. Now, how is cannabis in the Rastafari culture coinciding, or how much is that part of the Rastafari culture?
Cannabis came into Rasta because originally, when Leonard Percival Howell, who was said to be one of the first announcer of Rastafari, when he left Harlem, he was in Harlem, New York, when he came to that conclusion, when he started developing the thoughts of Rastafari. When he went back to Jamaica, he had bought a piece of land called Pinnacle, and he had close relations with people from East India, because Jamaica had people from India who were indentured servants. So he got certain influences from being around Indians, and the Indians smoked cannabis. Some of them, you know, were sadhus, which is a part of the Hindu religion, and they grew locks, and they were vegetarian. And those cultural aspects of Hinduism or of the sadhus became part of, you know, Rasta culture, of the development of it. When Leonard Percival Howell had his piece of land, like I said, called Pinnacle, it was, which was a commune, and people lived on that, and they grew food, and the Indian influence brought in the ganja.
I hate that I came in a few minutes late because we have only like maybe 30 seconds left into the show, a minute left into the show, and we would like to offer you an opportunity to come back and do a part 2 to this, so we can really indulge and dig into the Rastafari culture. So at this moment in time, I want to thank everybody who has been watching and following our shows. I want to thank my big brother Bishmi for stepping in and being the bully that he knows that he is, because he is the bully trainer, right? And K-Wise, take us out of here, Lord.
Yeah, so you guys gotta let me know. Peace.
Peace and blessings to everybody. Peace to our big brothers in God, Tafari for herself, and my big brother Bishmi, man. It's been so long since I seen you, God. I love you. And I just want to make that knowledge known, God, because there's stories behind you and your name and my physical. May he forever rest in power. That was
love is love.
That made earthquakes. Boy. I remember I had to run home. I couldn't come outside and play with nobody. So listen.
It's all good.
Our home is your platform at any time, God. You know it.
You know the deal.
There's no for itself. We got it. Peace and blessings, guys. Peace, Artina.
Peace.
Came aboard. True indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it's this. I done got enlightened so much now. I'm tears about to come to my eyes from seeing my God brother here and everybody, man. This is Long Island in the place, so I got to play my joint one more time right now. Before we cut off.
That's something you produce?
For a true 6 borough. Strong Island's in the building.
That's something you made?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So peace and blessings to all our listeners, our followers. We truly appreciate you for tuning in with us. This is a segment of the gods that was definitely needed and appreciated. Once again, I thank our special guest, Tafari Hosley, and our special added guest, none other than Bishmi Allah himself. On behalf of my co-host, Josh Shamel Allah, I am DJ K-Wise Allah, a.k.a. Kato, the black superhero. We say peace to Allah's 5%. The greatest nation, you know what I mean, to the gods and earths, to all human families of the planet Earth, be safe out there, and tune in for the next episode of the Real 360. We are out, y'all. Peace, God.
Peace.
Peace.